I think by now everybody have seen the ruling from the Breonna case. We've been following this very closely. We were hoping for a better outcome, but I think what we received once again was a slap in the face. We are seeing that in this particular case, that a building, a wall, is getting more justice than Breonna Taylor. They are charging an officer with shooting through a wall, but yet no one has been charged with shooting Breonna Taylor. Nobody. Nothing. But however, one officer is being charged with shooting through a wall. That's a slap in the face. There's no justice in that whatsoever. And so we are going to stand with the Breonna Taylor family. We're going to stand with Ms. Palmer. I know she has asked for peaceful demonstration, and that's what we're going to give her. Because we cannot just continue to sit by, be quiet, and continue to receive the same type of justice. It's sad. And when will it change? That in America, a wall will receive more justice than a black person. And we keep seeing this time and time again. So we are planning some demonstrations here in Greenville. I know individuals are quick to say, well, this didn't happen in Greenville. Well, we're going to stand with that family because it could have happened in Greenville. And at this point, we have to start proving that Black Lives Matter. We cannot continue to sit by and watch this happen. And it's sad, it's a travesty. It's very miscarriage of justice that a young lady has lost her life and nobody's been held accountable for it. But yet if you shoot through a wall, you'll go to jail. If you shoot through Breonna Taylor, you'll get paid leave. And now these officers, 2 of them at least, will get their jobs back. And they'll be back on the force by the end of this week. That's sad. So as it stands now, I'm waiting for Derek to get back in town. I'm not sure if we're going to get our protest started this evening. We definitely know it's going to be protest this weekend. That's guaranteed. That's going to happen. We're actually shooting to get it done a little earlier than this weekend. Hopefully we can get something started by Friday, depending on the weather. We're going to protest in Greenville in support of Breonna Taylor. We're going to keep pushing this because that family needs justice. And I would hope that if anything like that was to happen to my family, I would want individuals to keep screaming that we need justice. And that's what we're going to do. No justice, no peace, and we're going to make sure that happens here in Greenville. So Black Lives Matter will be organizing demonstrations here in Greenville in support of Breonna Taylor and her family.
As far as the Black Lives Matter movement, as far as that organization goes, it sounds like Breonna Taylor's mother has been in contact with that organization. What have you heard from her directly as far as organizing this in a peaceful way, but all across the country?
Everything that's coming down to us is to make sure that whatever you do is peaceful. And so we're going to honor that. And in fact, I think if you'll notice that all our protests have been peaceful. And so we're going to stick with that, but we are going to be vocal. We're going to make sure that the message is put out there very clear that this is not right, that at some point in America, Black lives have to matter. And so, yes, we're going to be peaceful, but we're going to be vocal. And so, and so we're going to go and abide by what Ms. Palmer would like, and she's calling for peaceful demonstration, and that's what we're going to do.
You can, yeah. I was just trying to keep it centered. Yeah, you're good. If it's helpful, I can hold it, though.
Do you think these protests over this here today in Kentucky could compare to the protests over George Floyd's killing?
I think this is going to ignite a fire. I think that this may be the straw that breaks the camel back. I really do, and I'm hoping that that everything will be peaceful. But I understand the frustration also, and so I believe that this is going to spark outrage, and I think we're already seeing it. The protests and demonstrations now that's going on now, that things are heated up, and I believe that this is going to be the final call. So I really do. I think we're going to see, on top of what happened with Mr. Floyd and this ruling, how devastating it is that a wall can receive more justice than a black female. I do believe that that tensions are going to be high.
Do you think protesting across the country could make a change in this case?
We thought that with George Floyd, and so we're still hopeful for change. I think if we look at this case, there's too many distractions in this case, even from the Attorney General. If you listen to him today, there's just too many distractions, and nothing's really panning out. If this was a no-knock warrant, then why did they knock? If the media has been in that area looking for witnesses, and they've talked to several people that didn't hear the police announce themselves. Where did you find this one witness that said they heard the police announce themselves? And it's not important what the person on the outside heard. It's what's important what the people on the inside heard. So I think this whole case is just sad. We have an individual that we know is engulfed with Donald Trump and his rhetoric. And so he has no credibility on this case. In fact, he shouldn't have been on this case, in my opinion. He's talking more about protest and peacefulness and not destroying things. But this woman's body was destroyed by 6 bullets. Somebody needs to be held accountable. As it stands right now, nobody's being arrested for the death of Breonna Taylor. Nobody. Now, if you shoot in a wall, you'll go to jail. You shoot in Breonna Taylor, you get paid leave, and they'll be back at work next week, and that's sad. And so that's why we're out protesting and marching.
So, Bruce, let me ask you, you mentioned the Attorney General and all of this. I watched what he had to say. He said, you know, we're going to see a lot of people want to kind of believe in their own narrative, and he kept pointing back to just the evidence. What do you have to say to that when he says there's a lot of people who want to paint their own narrative, but let's look at just the hard facts of what the grand jury came up with? What do you have to say to that?
Well, if you notice, what he kept doing is putting everything off on the grand jury. It's not the grand jury's duty to inform themselves. It's the Attorney General's duty to inform them on what they need, on the law. And I don't think he done that. And let's look at the facts. Let's look at the facts. I agree with him on looking at these facts. They had a warrant that, from everybody can tell, was not a valid warrant because the information was incorrect. The person they was looking for was in jail already. So we know the warrant was invalid. He loves to say it was a valid warrant. No, it wasn't, because the information was incorrect. Once you get a warrant, you have to do that under oath. The information needs to be correct. Then you go to a home with a no-knock warrant, but then you knock on the door, but you have a note. So none of what he said makes any sense. And then we know that 6 bullets went in her. He keeps talking about the one that they believe killed her. What about those other 6? Where did they come from? Then he was asked, well, who was on this panel? What was the makeup of the grand jury? Well, he refused to answer that question, and that question is very important. We need to know the makeup of that jury. We really do. And so for him not to answer that makes me once again think that there's something awry. So if you want to talk about looking at the facts of it, let's look at the facts. Really. I've never been to law school, and I know that something's wrong here. Something doesn't add up. You have a no-knock warrant, but you knock. Nobody else talks to this one witness, but you find a witness who you are using to justify them going in the house. And this is the most important part. When Mr. Walker shot at the officer, I think he was justified in doing so. He doesn't know who's coming in that house. And if law enforcement returned fire, they can say that they are justified in shooting at Mr. Walker. Breonna Taylor didn't shoot. You cannot be justified shooting her. So what they're saying, if I shoot at the police shoots back at me, but hit somebody way across town, they're justified. No, you can't. That's involuntary manslaughter at a minimum. You can't just kill people. You can't, even if you have on a badge. So, yes, let's look at the facts. And I think the facts bear that all these officers should be charged. All of them.
Bruce, have you filed permits to protest yet, or are you planning to?
Well, so we had originally planned to do a memorial this weekend. And it was going to last for 72 hours. It was going to start on Friday and end on Sunday. Those permits are already filed, but we rescinded them because of the weather.
Because of the weather?
Yeah, we think the weather's going to come in this Friday. So we rescinded them. So we may go ahead and call back and put those back on file. Or we may, I believe that the Constitution gives me the right to protest. So I don't really have to ask permission. But, we may do that just to keep the fray down. We may do that. We've had some pretty good conversations with the city for the last week about an event that's going to happen on October the 3rd. And so they've been very respectful and helpful. So we may talk to them and get the better understanding of what we're going to do this weekend.
How many people filed for it?
I'm sorry?
You filed, they were expecting 1,000 people. How many people expect to come to
I think the way that we're going to, I think this will be a large protest. I'll put it that way. I really think this will be a large protest. I think that everybody knows and can see that this was wrong. So I am gearing for at least 400 individuals to participate in this. As of now, we are scheduled to protest Saturday at 3 o'clock. That is set in stone. We're going to do that. Downtown, yes. Depending on the time frame when Derek gets back in town, I'm not sure if we're going to do anything tomorrow or if we're going to do anything Friday. That I can't answer now, but definitely we're going to be protesting this Saturday at 3 o'clock.
Could you possibly, you said at the beginning, possibly tonight, or no?
It depends on when he gets in.
Okay. I guess one of my last questions for you, everybody had their thoughts and opinions, you know, as this was being looked at over the last 6 months. Did you expect this outcome, or did you, what were your thoughts about that?
We keep getting the same thing. I mean, nobody really had their hopes up. And then when we found out the Attorney General was so engulfed with Donald Trump, I'm surprised that anybody got arrested, to be honest. But we were hopeful. But then again, look at the time frame. Look how long ago this was. This was back in March. You know, we're almost in October. That tells you then that something's not right. And then when we start noticing them boarding up the buildings, they said that the grand jury was not impounded until Monday. But they started boarding up the buildings Monday. They knew what they were going to do. They knew, because if they really wanted to get indictments for involuntary manslaughter, they could have got indictments for involuntary manslaughter. That's not what they were seeking. They were seeking to make sure that we just didn't let the officers get off. We have to charge them with something. And then they come up with this little charge that they gave them for shooting into a building. But nobody's being held accountable for shooting into that young lady's body. And that's what's sad. So yeah, you know, getting the same thing we've always been getting. It's not a surprise, but I'm hoping that now America as a whole is waking up. Because see, Black America can't stop this epidemic of black men getting killed in the streets. It's going to take white America to stand up and say enough is enough. And that's what's being happened now. The same way in the civil rights movement, when individuals could see dogs biting people, and that's what everybody got on board. Well, now in America, you keep seeing these lives lost, precious lives lost behind white privilege. And I think this is going to bring everybody on board so we can put a stop to this.